And to follow up on the women's tag team titles, I wanted to mention this. Corey Graves on WWE's After the Bell podcast had the following critique of the women's tag team division. And hat tip to Fightful for the transcription here. He said, as far as the women's tag team championships go, I'm probably going to catch hell for this. It's never been a strong division. It's sort of been an amalgam of thrown together tag teams. I'm going to team with this person tonight. We have a tag title match. We didn't win. Okay, time to get a new partner. It always has been a very transient and constantly in flux division. I am talking the entire existence of the titles since the very beginning. And he's not wrong about the whole idea of, oh, well, we lost, I'll just find a new partner. I think Natalya, has won the tag team titles once. I want to say it was with Tamina. But I think Natty has had like 5 different partners in the life. And this division, the tag titles were resurrected. It was 4 years ago, which is not that long. And I think she's had 5 different tag team partners. And that's just Natty. You could probably find similar examples with other people as well. So he's not wrong when he says that. He did go on to praise the new champions, Raquel and Liv. He said that they have what it takes to solidify the division. Whether or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good or bad of a team Raquel and Liv are. It does not matter. What matters is the overall booking situation. If that is not going to change, they're not going to solidify anything. He also said the closest to a serious tag team to hold the titles was the Iconics back in 2019. Serious is not a word I would associate with the Iconics and their act, but I get what he's saying. The Iconics were actually the only real full-time team to ever hold those titles in the history of the titles since they were resurrected in 2019. The only real full-time team were the Iconics. Every other team has been thrown together. All Graves is doing here is articulating what I and a lot of other people have been saying for years. There is no women's tag team division. And there has been no real purpose in even having those titles. We have had 19 women's tag team championship reigns in the last 4 years. Of those, how many can you name? How many of those have really stuck in your head and have been memorable and stand out to you? Or how many of those have benefited the people who held them in some meaningful way? Sasha Banks and Naomi, they walked out of the company because of frustrations with their booking as the tag team champions. Ronda Rousey went off on the old men who booked the women's division and have no idea what they're doing only a few weeks ago. That's when she was talking about her feud with Liv Morgan. But this has been an overall frustration with the state of the women's division. Even people within the company now are publicly levying critiques. And we're not just talking about the women's tag team titles now. We're talking about the women's division as a whole, in totality. The booking going into the 2 women's championship matches at WrestleMania was horrendous. The matches were great. No thanks to the 6 weeks of television that preceded them, but the matches were great at least. I'm still not sure why they resurrected the belts after Sasha and Naomi walked out. They were on ice for 3 months. They should have kept them there if they didn't have, fucking Encino Man. They should have kept them there if they had no plans for them. But they brought them back. I've tried to think of a solution, and there is no good solution other than building up actual tag teams, and the best women's team they have in the entire company is still sitting in NXT. That's Kayden Carter and Katana Chance. They are a great tag team. I just saw them debut another new move the other day on Level Up. Some pretty innovative stuff. I saw the clip popped up in my timeline. I said, what's this? And I watched it. I said, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Tandem offense. They actually work together as a legitimate tag team. I have no idea why they're still down in Orlando when they should already be on Raw or SmackDown. Maybe they will be after the draft. They should be. But it's going to take more than just one team to fix things. And they already broke up Toxic Attraction, so they're not even an option. I thought Carmella and Chelsea Green had potential as a team, but Carmella's out again, so they've substituted Sonya Deville in her place. Is that pairing going to last? Probably not. Part of the problem is the lack of focus on the women's mid-card. None of these women individually are over to begin with, so then you jam them together into these makeshift teams and still nobody cares. And I thought about that, if junking the tag team titles in favor of a women's mid-card title, not adding a mid-card title and keeping the tag titles, but junking the tag belts, and having a women's mid-card title, if that would make sense. You know, Dana Brooks said last month that she pitched the idea of transitioning the 24/7 title when she had it into a women's intercontinental title to keep it relevant. But the idea never went anywhere. But with two rosters, unless the champion floats, that just doesn't work because there's no need to have two women's mid-card titles when they don't pay attention. They don't pay enough attention to the women's mid-card to begin with. How are you going to have two mid-card women's titles? If there was one mid-card champion who could float between shows, I would be in favor of that over what they have now. But then you would need to do the same thing for the top titles. You have one champion who goes between shows, either Bianca Belair or Rhea Ripley, but not both. But they're not going to do that. You know, they have a pretty good pipeline of female talent right now in NXT. I've talked about this before. They're not all ready right now, but the future looks good. The talent is there, but it all comes down to the booking. As it always does with these things. You could have the greatest roster in the world, but if you don't know what to do with it, it does not matter. And Dark Side of the Ring, Season 4, now has a premiere date on Vice TV, Tuesday, May 30th at 10 p.m. Eastern. The 4th season is going to consist of 10 episodes. We do not yet know what all 10 episodes will be covering, but 7 of them are Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch, the car accident that ended Magnum TA's career, Marty Jannetty, Bam Bam Bigelow, The Sandman, Mike Awesome, and Abdullah the Butcher. And per PW Insider, Mick Foley, Terry Funk, Jim Cornette, Taz, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Boy, Hacksaw's everywhere, isn't he? He's cornering John Morrison for a boxing match, and now he's going to be on Dark Side of the Ring. And I think he was on the Jericho Cruise. He was at WrestleMania over WrestleMania weekend. But Hacksaw Jim Duggan, all were among those interviewed for this season. I said this on Wednesday. Somebody asked me about it in the Super Chats, which one I'm looking forward to the most. I said the Magnum TA one because he is one of the great what-if stories in wrestling. But the Marty Jannetty one is the one that scares the hell out of me. This is the same man who went on Facebook to ask the internet if it was okay for him to sleep with a girl he thought was his daughter. Until 2 weeks before that when he got a DNA test that proved she wasn't his. So even though I thought she was my daughter, she ain't, and she's hot, so it's okay, right? And he put this on Facebook. They could dedicate an entire episode to his Facebook posts alone. I don't know how they're going to condense his entire life into 40 some odd minutes, but that one is going to be insane.